Hey guys, just got a update here for you for the nuclear. So the nuclear is all done, complete. It's running fairly well. There was a couple issues that we ran into, and I will go over all of them. Some that we've managed to fix, others that are not really fixable. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But so initially I was doing the silica. I was making some silica and quartz crystal with the it's like quartz purification or whatever, where you use some nitrogen. I've now since realized that I am so starved in nitrogen that I want to redo that setup. It's going to yield slightly less silica, but I will regain the nitrogen, which is more important to me at this current stage, because we're trying to maximize as many ballistic warp drives and wrap our head around all that different stuff as to how many we need. So long story short, I need more nitrogen. So we're in the process of kind of redoing anything, but everything as far as the nuclear is going completely fine. So we have all of the silica coming into here. I was originally going to train everything there because there wasn't that many things, but because we haven't used any trains up till now, and it's a bit of a meme in the stream that we don't use trains, we're opting to still not use them and just do everything drone from here to the nuclear. So we have all the uranium getting droned in, all of the raw resources from the base are crafted here and then brought to the nuclear. So we have the silica here, where we need 2.5 belts of silica. We are crafting the 5.5 belts of quick wire. The sulfur is direct belted there. Then we are also droning in the 450 aluminum casings, the 170 rotors, the 50 crystal oscillators, the 168 electromagnetic control rods, the iron plates we also drone in, and I'm using some of the plastic from the plastic because we had a little bit left over there, so I'm just crafting that into the iron plates for the nitric acid. And then all of the nitrogen is directly piped in there, but that is one of the issues that we will go into when I get over there. And then that's everything. Or I guess we also have the 22 pressure cubes that are also getting droned in. So the silica drones are here. And then, like I said, everything is crafted here, and then I drone it in. All of these things are, these are just making one belt of rotors and one belt of stators, so it's overproducing. And then I'm making the electromagnetic control rods, so we have extra of those to work with. It didn't really seem like, it seemed like if I was going to bother setting up something for stators or rotors, it didn't seem worth it to make like just a small amount. So I'm making a full belt, and then we just utilizing the 180 out of them. And then same with the electromagnetic control rods. I had 480 AI limiters, so I just put them all towards electromagnetic control rods, and I believe it's 1-to-1. Yeah, 1-to-1. So we're making 480 electromagnetic control rods that we can then send off. So down here, this is getting a little bit more of the advanced stuff. So we got the cooling systems not required for nuclear, but the cooling systems are done here. The pressure conversion cubes here. So we're making a total of 48. 22.4 of them are being used for nuclear, and then we have 25 and 0.6 remaining. I'm using 25 of them to turn into 25 nuclear pasta. And that goes along and into our singularity cells, so we finished that last night. So everything else required for nuclear just comes along down these belts here, and it all gets loaded up onto drones that get sent down into where we have the nuclear, which is right over beside our rubber and plastic plant that we made before. So everything gets droned out here. Majority of the resources are able to be, well, pretty much everything is able to be handled by one drone port on either side, and then just 2 drones. The only thing that was different was the quick wire, but actually the quick wire, same thing, is you're able to handle, I'm able to handle a throughput of 1 full belt with just 2 drones, and that's just because it stacks to 500, so it's very dense. You can so you don't need that many drones for it. So all these drone ports and then the silica, they all go to over towards the nuclear. So I'll take the portal over to there, and then we can show the nuclear setup. So I'm full converting all the uranium into the 50.4 uranium fuel rods, and then I'm burning the 50.4 fuel rods to get all of the waste, and then we're full converting all of the waste into plutonium fuel rods, and then I'm just using the plutonium fuel rods to fuel my drones, and then also and then just sinking the remaining. So I don't know if I'll go any further with that. We have 1.2 terawatts of power right now. If I get to the point where power is becoming an issue, I'm probably just going to end up needing to maybe do a couple of power augmenters. I was wanting to try and avoid power augmenters as much as possible, so that way I could have more sloops towards final production, because I'm basing my playthrough around how many sloops are possible in the vanilla game. I'm not going to be just like duping any sloops and stuff just to like artificially inflate how many numbers I have. I want to have like a real world what you can get on vanilla with however many sloops are available in the vanilla game. So we have the sulfur coming in, the quartz or the silica, and then the quick wire all coming in here. This all goes down towards crafting. Now, yesterday, we'll see if this is flowing steady. Yesterday, we had almost a complete catastrophic event happen. For whatever reason, drones, and now I've had this happen in the past only twice, and it wasn't on anything that was super mission critical, so it didn't matter. But I had 2 drones that stopped working while they were in the docking animation. So how I have this set up is for the normal uranium nodes, I have 4 total drone ports with 4 drones moving all the resources. So these 2, and then the 2 receiving, or the 2 sending, then these 2 receiving, 2 sending for another normal, and then all the impure are set up with the 2 drone ports, and then 2 drone ports total moving it. So it's 2 drones per 1 drone per 150 uranium, and that throughput was completely fine. But what happened was 2 drones just randomly stopped working while they were in the docking sequence. So I had 2 drones not moving uranium, and because it happened during the I guess that guy wants to take us for a ride. While it was in the docking sequence, it just completely stopped the port from working. So I had 2 drones that stopped working, and they both blocked the port. So in theory, I had 4 drones stop working. So and it was on the normal node, so it just completely neutered down my uranium. So I was kind of just, somebody wanted to see the nuclear in the stream the other night, so I came here to show it, and I'm like, what is going on? They didn't have any fuel rods in them. So I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Everything's full here. Everything's like, what is going on? And then it was the last thing on my mind that the uranium wouldn't be working. So we found that. So PSA, drones will randomly just stop working at times. I have absolutely no idea what it is. It has nothing to do with the fuel, because I had already transferred them over to fuel. So there's not like if there was different types of fuel, they were already just fully operational on plutonium fuel rods at that point. There was no point when the power went out here and then came back on, so that would have stopped it. So they just completely, seemingly at random, stopped working. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. I'm tempted to just belt the uranium so I don't ever have to deal with it. But something to keep in mind with drones. But other than that, the drones have been working out completely fine. So we have everything crafting our encased uranium cells. I believe it's how many are we making of those? It's 1050 times 2, I believe. No, 1680 total. So I just opted to split everything in 2. So we have 1680, and then they go down into these lines, and then these will each make the what would it be, 25.2, I guess. I think 25.2. I have these all slooped currently. I literally just dumped every single sloop I had into these just to build up a bit of a reserve of the fuel rods because of the scare that we had last night. So literally, I think I don't know, they're about half of them are slooped for the time being. Like I said, just building up extra fuel rods. So all the fuel rods go down here. Like I said, we're making 50.4 fuel rods. They all go down into here. So there's I have 9 rows of 14 nuclear reactors for a total of 126. I am overclocking them to 200% just with the lag on my save. I didn't really want to deal with any issues with dealing with the full 600 throughput on a pipe, so I opted to just do 200% overclock all of them and build a couple more of them. So Here we just have a simple, it's just a 1 into 9 balancer, so it load balances everything into each row, and then down here in each row I have 1 into 14 balancer, so that way all of the power plants are load balanced and I don't have to wait for any manifolds to fill or anything like that, so they all have the same amount of fuel rods in them. 27, 28, 27. So here's the 1 into 14 balancer. It's pretty compact, arguably, potentially, I guess maybe does have some clipping. I honestly find stuff like this to be acceptable. It like just kind of thematically looks like it makes sense for me, and also it ends up just being really clean, so I'm completely fine with this. So this is a 1 into 14 balancer with 6 outputs on this side, 8 outputs on this side, and all these are just duplicated in each of the 9 setups. Now I opted to, because I have 9 rows, I just opted to collect the waste in each of the rows, so we end up having three rows per belt here. I have this balancer in here, not really necessary because everything else down the line is also in groups of 3, so that really works out well. The one positive, I guess, with while we our waste, or we were producing such few, we were able to, I only had a backlog of 1 storage buffer of waste, but when the critical issue happened, we actually got to burn through all the waste, so now we have no waste, which I guess is a nice positive of what happened. So all the waste comes down to here, heads on down the way. So now we move on to the probably one of the biggest headaches with this was the nitrogen. So I was direct piping nitrogen from varying distances across the map, and I thought potentially it might be an issue, but I wasn't 100% sure. But we figured, hey, it's worth a shot. Let's see what's going on. So we are bringing nitrogen. We needed a total of 4,032 nitrogen, and luckily between this node, and the one 600 pipe that we had left over from our turbo fuel power plant, that equaled 4050 nitrogen. So I piped all of these directly, piggybacked them on the back of my conveyor belt line, so they all come up here, all this conveyor belt line come across, and then they are all directly belted or directly piped with the sulfur that comes through there and directly into here. So originally I was kind of testing different things with piping them directly into the blenders, and long story short, we tried so many different setups and none of them worked, not even a little bit. So the throughput on the belts, or on the pipes, was not only was it not transferring the 600, it wasn't even close. It would be like within 10 minutes, 5 minutes of any setup that we tried, we were at a massive nitrogen deficit, and we were even though we should be technically having more nitrogen than what we need. So I opted to go the route of piping the nitrogen and bottling it on site, and then just doing a simple loop for the nitrogen, and lo and behold, that completely fixed it. However, there was one issue that again arose. So again, we're slightly overproducing on nitrogen, so in my eyes we should never run out of nitrogen. But what was happening was I was slowly hemorrhaging nitrogen, and I couldn't really figure out where it was, because in theory, when I check out all these packagers, they're all running at 100%, and if they're all running at 100%, then we're creating the 40-50 nitrogen, and we only need 40-32 nitrogen, because each blender is getting directly fed from its own packager, and it's just synced up to be the exact amount that is required. So all of these pipes here, they're all coming in from different distances, some further than others, but they all operate at 100%. Now, down at this nitrogen node, there is 2 600 pipes of nitrogen and 1 450 pipe. The 600 pipes going into here work completely fine. They run 100% steady. Now I had this one here, which is the 450 pipe, and I had that set up into a packager doing packaged nitrogen, and I had this set to 112.5, so it would be consuming the 450 nitrogen. This, for whatever reason, I have no idea, I cannot figure out why, would not run at 100%, even though it was getting 450 nitrogen. Well, I mean, I guess it clearly wasn't, because it wasn't running at 100%, but so it was stalling continuously, and lots of times I'd come here and it might be running at 92 or 94%. So this was completely the cause of the nitrogen deficit. So what I did was just opted to package the 450 nitrogen on site and then drone that in. It seems super convoluted because, like I said, like two of these nitrogen are coming from the exact same location that I'm having to drone this in, and these work with no issues, but for whatever reason the 450, so if you have a full pipe it seems to work, but anything less than a full pipe with nitrogen doesn't seem to work, even though in theory it's pressurized and is moving the full amount that is moving, it still doesn't like it. So thought that was interesting. Nitrogen loops, though, what I've found are insanely good because the nitrogen is so dense. It can go down to a factor of 1. So all this 4,000 nitrogen that I'm using can be bottled and transferred on a single pipe network or a single belt network. So that's extremely convenient. So switching that around, we're now running at I honestly think we're actually back to I think we're not even at deficit. I think we're overproducing slightly on nitrogen. I'd be willing to bet I could probably put an overflow here and we will be trickling out extra nitrogen, which is good, which is what we should be expecting to see. So the iron comes in over here. Like now with the plastic, I was overproducing slightly on the plastic, so it actually worked out really good. I was able to just drone in some iron from my kind of starter little workhorse factory over here, bring in the iron, and then with the little bit of residual plastic we have, just doing the coated iron plates to make the few iron plates that we need for the nitric acid. And then so honestly, with this entire setup, I probably spent as much time on the nitric acid as I did with everything else in the setup, with how much troubleshooting we were trying to do with the nitrogen, until I finally just decided to package it and then unpackage it, which solved every single problem I was having, and now it works flawlessly and I don't have to think about it. So cannot recommend doing something like this more. Like it's amazing. It just allows you to like pseudo load balance, and you can you don't have to design things around the full 600 of nitrogen and deal with sloshing and anything like that. So again, definitely would recommend that. And the reason why the nitrogen numbers are so awkward is because I wanted to keep the nitric acid numbers to be the same with down here making the non-fissile uranium, because the non-fissile uranium is actually incredibly convenient, that it requires 28 nitric acid and 28 sulfuric acid, and it gives you a byproduct of 28 water. So in theory, you can loop either of these systems, whether you choose to do the sulfuric acid or the nitric acid. They can just be looped. So I have the water that comes out of these and it just gets looped into these, and it's just a complete enclosed system. So you don't have to worry about any backup with water or anything like that. So I just have, like I said, down here, all the water gets collected from all of the non-fissile uranium, and it just gets pumped over a fully enclosed system and gets pumped over to the nitric acid. And I don't need to have any I haven't had to have any loops or anything like that, and it all is running completely steady with the nitric acid. And then the nitric acid goes down along with the sulfuric acid and the waste and the silica to make the non-fissile uranium. We're making where are we at here? So we're using 2,520 of the waste to make 3,360 non-fissile uranium, and everything actually worked out really good just to keep it in groups of 3, because one, you don't need to deal with full 1,200 belts. Everything is less than 1,200, so you can move it on a 1,200 belt, and you don't have to worry that when the game lags and the belt is only moving 1195 or 1198 items per minute that you start having issues. So the belts will always remain saturated, which is one really nice thing. So then the non-fissile uranium comes down here, just gets merged with the aluminum casings to make the encased plutonium cells. We opted to kind of just do kind of like a cool little squiggly pattern through the particle accelerators. I think it turned out pretty cool. And then all of the encased plutonium cells come down along here to the final destination to be crafted into plutonium fuel rods, where they get sent off to fuel all of my drone ports. So I have a drone port here that is just picking up, and I can just take these anywhere I want. If I want to set up a drone port or something, I can have these bring here. I have these getting brought back to my main base just to fuel any drones that are there that are not having a pickup spot here or something like that. So bring them all into here, and then like I said, any excess are just getting sunk. So all the plutonium fuel rods just go along down there and over to all of the drone ports. So plutonium fuel rods are incredibly OP for fueling the drones. I think I did the numbers in all my drone ports. It's a full stack of plutonium fuel rods will do like 12. It'll cover like 1,200 trips of the drone. So yeah, we basically have free fuel forever at this point with the nuclear. As far as the power goes, I guess I didn't go into that, but the power for this, we're producing 660,000 megawatts with the nuclear. So on top of that, with my rocket fuel power plant, they're almost like 1-to-1, but we have 1.2 terawatts of power with no power augmenters. Now that I've built so many particle accelerators back at base for singularity cells and getting into some of the end game stuff, the power is getting a little bit scary. But if we have to add some power augmenters, I guess we will. Again, I was just trying to save the power augmenters so that way we had more sloops to sloop final production. Was kind of my logic with that. But yeah, so that's kind of the full overview of the nuclear. If anyone has any questions, again, feel free to drop in the stream, ask them there, or drop them in the comments. You can put them in there and I'll answer them there. Or if you want to baby rage that we don't use trains and we use lots of conveyor belts, and you want to get upsetty spaghetti and tell me how you use trains and my computer's going to explode because we don't, I guess drop that in the comments as well. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the live stream. Take it easy.